Warzone 2 is a totally different experience to Warzone 1. There's lots of new things to learn, and getting your first win is not going to be a walk in the park. So today, I'm bringing you a bunch of tips, learnings, best practices, and settings changes that are going to make your life in Warzone 2 easier and hopefully more entertaining as well. If this video ends up helping you out in any way and you want more Warzone 2 content in your life, then make sure you click that subscribe button and drop a like on the video to support it as well. Okay, starting things off, just some quick-fire, simple settings that will really make a difference. First of all, you want to change your armor plate behavior setting to apply all. This means if you have 3 open plate slots in your armor vest and you hit the button to plate up, the game will apply all of the plates that it can instead of you having to press the button for each plate, which can sometimes get you killed if an enemy surprises you. Pinging locations on the map can be really helpful in Warzone 2 for callouts to teammates, but currently, the ping marker is set to white, and that makes it really hard to spot. Head into your color settings and change your neutral color to something much more visible. I've gone for bright pink. You can now see it stands out over pretty much everything. If you're using a controller, you're going to want to enable Prioritize Interact in the settings to help you out when you're looting. With this on, you tap to interact with objects around you, and you hold if both options are available simultaneously. This will make quick looting easier, and it separates 2 functions that can easily get in the way of each other. I'd also highly recommend turning off automatic tac sprint or automatic sprint, since Warzone 2 is slower paced overall. Gone are the days of needing to sprint at the speed of light to close a gap to your enemy. You're going to be doing a lot more deliberate, slower moves within the circles, so turning this option off will stop you moving too fast and giving off those heavier footstep sounds, if you can hear the footsteps, that is. I'd also make sure that your FOV is set to a higher value than 80, since consoles and PC can now access this feature, and to make sure that your ADS field of view setting is on affected. This means your aim down sight FOV will be as close as possible to your actual FOV number when you're using low zoom optics, so you'll see more around you in ADS and there will be less recoil on the screen. And if you're on PC, there's a really good setting called Fidelity FX CAS, which can really sharpen up your game. I have mine set to 80 out of 100, and it really helps for picking out enemies at longer distances because the overall image is much sharper. Okay, with those out of the way, let's get into some gameplay tips and tricks. When you first drop out of a plane, you want to be prioritizing 3 different things: a weapon, a contract, and a 3-plate armor vest. Now, the weapon is self-explanatory, you need that to kill people. The contract, I'd recommend trying to find a safe cracker and complete this as quick as you can. This has taken the place of the scavenger contracts from Warzone 1, and it rewards you with higher tier loot items for every safe that you manage to crack open. You also get a decent amount of cash and plenty of XP. So when you're completing that contract, make sure you're holding a weapon in your hands that you want to rank up, and all of that XP will apply to that weapon. You also get a cash bonus for completing the contract, and that can help you with buying your first weapon. Now, the 3-plate armor vest, that's arguably the most important to get as soon as you can. Every player in a Warzone 2 lobby starts with 2 plates, and they can only ever have 2 plates applied unless they find one of these 3-plate vests. Thankfully, they are quite common loot items in the more built-up areas, so find one of those quickly, get it on, and get that 3rd plate in so you're at max health. And also, a really important note about these, a 3-plate vest is going to protect you from being one-shot downed and directly killed by a sniper rifle. Really important, that. A lot of people are now aware that loadouts are back in Warzone 2, but they're not really the focal point that they once were. You're now able to purchase your custom weapons from buy stations at a cost of $5,000 each. Whichever weapon sits in your primary slot in your loadout is going to be available for you to buy from the buy station. So make sure you set up some close, mid, and long-range options, but just make sure they're in that primary slot in the loadout. The secondary weapon in that loadout will not show up in the buy station. Now, loadouts themselves, they do appear during matches around sort of 14 to 15 minutes in, and they can be accessed by any squads. They're no longer locked to each squad specifically. These loadout crates allow you to select your full loadout, so that includes primary, secondary, lethals, tacticals, and perks. So even though only primary weapons show up in the buy stations, you want to make sure that every loadout you create is kitted out and ready to go, so that when you hit one of those crates, you can get a full loadout. Setting up a couple of separate loadouts that don't use the overkill perk package is always a smart move too. Warzone 1 players will always know that having a ghost perk loadout was essential for later games, so having that on hand to grab as you pass a loadout crate once you're moving into the final circles, that'll keep you off the minimap during UAV scans. Looting in Warzone 2 isn't as scattered as it was in Warzone 1. You're now going to find specific items in abundance in certain locations. So for example, heading into shops, you're likely to find tills that have money in them. If you head into a bathroom and check the cabinet on the wall, you're going to find health items like stims and self-revives. And if you happen to find a police station, there is an armory room in one of those, and there are guns in every single cabinet. Plenty of loot is now found on shelves instead of just all over the floor. Makes the process a little more elegant, but the most important thing to remember is if you're carrying a certain item, like assault rifle ammo, and you run over to a shelf that's got more on it, the game will automatically pick it up for you once you're close enough. That's going to cut down on lots of button presses on your controller and lots of clicks on the mouse. When it comes to looting and stowing in your backpack, your options are pretty wide in Warzone 2. You can now carry multiples of items such as self-revives, kill streaks like UAVs and airstrikes, extra ammo and plates, and even more. You can swap these in and out of your inventory on your character as you wish, and it's going to open up a lot of doors later on in matches. Say you've been stowing a precision airstrike for right at the end game moment, suddenly you've got a powerful item that maybe another team doesn't have. Buy stations in Warzone 2, they're a little bit further apart thanks to the overall larger map that we've got, so you're going to want to make sure that you're checking the distance to your nearest regularly by pulling up the map and marking it often. Other players are also going to be keeping an eye on it as well, so you should probably expect gunfights in and around those buy stations. They're really, really valuable. Right now, buy stations can be a little bit difficult to interact with, so make sure you're standing right in front of it. But different buy stations in Warzone 2 have different stocks of items. So some of them will have UAVs for sale, but others won't. Some will have armor-piercing rounds, others won't. And there's no way to know what buy station has what items in it unless you go up to them and check. So always be aware that you won't necessarily find what you're looking for from a buy station, but they are still one of the most powerful objects in the game, and you need to be aware of where they are. The overall pacing of Warzone 2 is much slower compared to Warzone 1, so don't go fully sprinting at enemies around a corner, probably just gonna die. Instead, you should approach corners and doors a little bit slower, and make sure you do plenty of corner peeks with your gun ready in ADS so that you can react quicker. Taking a few seconds longer on holding an angle might reward you, as I've noticed people are tending to wait longer before they go for a push, especially if they've not got a fast aim down sights weapon. Lots of people are running those heavier assault rifle builds and light machine guns in Warzone 2 because of the longer distance gunfights. So really make sure you're checking your angles and don't go gung-ho into every single gunfight. Sometimes it's really going to pay off if you just hang back for an extra few seconds. And elevation is extremely important in any battle royale, but in Warzone 2, it's extremely important. Elevating your position gives you a huge advantage in gunfights because you can see more than what the enemy can see of you. And in more general gameplay terms, Warzone 2 features really long-distance bullet tracers, which means you're going to be able to see where other players are around the map from a long way away. You might see two teams fighting. If you're within distance of a parachute off the top of that building that you've just climbed, you can now go down there. If you're looking for some action in mid-game, get to a high point, have a look around, and you're likely to find some action. Also, bounty contracts are brilliant for spicing up the mid-game, which at the moment is quite quiet. The intel collection contracts, those do attract attention as well, and be aware that you have to sort of stay around that beacon so that you can complete something, and it will attract attention because it puts a large yellow bar going into the sky. So again, that can spice up the mid-game, but contracts can be really helpful if you're looking for some action. And that's about it, guys. A nice simple guide to getting started in Warzone 2. If this video helped you, go ahead and drop a like on it to support it, and consider subscribing to the channel for more Warzone 2 videos and streams. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys soon.